Well, this is disappointing, but not surprising.
Last week I asked, air motor or regulation? And you answered. Well, what will it be? May I have a drum roll, please? Wait, if you've already seen the title of this video, you already know. Oh, well.
You asked for it. Today, we'll take a close look at the air motor. The air motor's job is to cause the piano roll to roll. These air motors look complicated, but they're actually quite simple. Here I'm performing a quick test. By blocking off the supply to the air motor and turning it backwards, it should generate power or suction and have a lot of resistance if it's airtight. But guess what? I think I'll see myself in, thank you. With the valve cover removed, we can see the slide valves, which move up and down. These slide valves direct airflow either in or out of the 5 pneumatics on this motor. Each of the pneumatics is connected to a crankshaft and is responsible for about 1/5 of the rotation in the cycle of this motor. With the slide valves out of the way, you can see that there are 2 ports for each slide valve. This top port is a common hole that runs all the way through the trunk, and it's our vacuum supply. The bottom port is connected to the pneumatic. This bottom port allows flow of air either in or out of the pneumatic. You can see that the slide valve has a recessed shape, which allows for airflow. When the slide valve covers both ports, air is being drawn out of the pneumatic and it closes. When the bottom port is exposed to atmosphere, the pneumatic can open up, being pulled by its neighbors and fill with air. Alright, time for the overhaul. Whew, there's a bit of wear. This thing's got a few miles on it. Yeah, that's not good.
Well, this is disappointing, but not surprising. I originally thought that this piano was unrestored. Of course, that was wishful thinking, but I see now that it's had some work done to it in the past, shown here. And the reason I know that is this is a kind of transparent adhesive squeeze out. And I also see that here on the edges of these pneumatics, which tells me it's been recovered. But what's really disappointing is that they didn't use hide glue when they attached these pneumatics to this trunk. I would know it's hide glue because with hide glue it's brown, the color of dead animals. That's going to make a little bit more work for me, but I've been through this before and I think we'll be okay.
But wait, there's more.
Another thing to point out is the span of these pneumatics. Again, knowing that this has been recovered, I want to get it as close to the factory settings as possible. What I'm seeing here, corner folds here, watch, they almost touch when that comes together. And in this one, they do touch, and there's actually friction there. There's some rubbing, but we don't want that. This one where they almost touch, this one is just under 2 7/8, and this one's almost 3 inches. So I'm going to cover these with a little, just shy of 2 7/8, so that those don't touch and wear out prematurely. That right there's the devil's phlegm.
With the majority of the stationary bellows boards hogged away, I can sand the remainder of the wood off. Or try. When sanding it off camera, the old glue was gumming up my belts. Whoops, there we go. Okay, this is a prime example of why I'm always yakking about hide glue. I call hide glue the undo glue, because it's heat and water activated. The glue that was used by someone previously on this trunk in their rebuild was synthetic glue, which requires harsh chemicals to remove. Much better. Now that I'm done with solvents, I'll reseal all the wood with shellac. We don't want any leaks in this thing. While that dries, let's see what we can do about this crankshaft. I've got to be pretty gentle with this crankshaft because it's not very thick rod stock, and I don't want to bend it. That would make me sad. It would make me very sad if I bent it. Now I can deal with those worn out bushings. Thankfully, they're original, so they were glued in with hide glue. A little water, a little heat, oh man, that stinks. The undo glue! Now I can install some fresh felt, which will be slightly thicker, so there won't be any wear or play in these bushings on the crankshaft. With heavy wear like these had, the motor can knock at high speeds. High speeds? I don't actually know how fast these motors spin, or how fast they can spin. That glue needs some time to dry anyway. Let's see what I have for spare motors. Looks like a runner. Buckle up. I want to try something. This vacuum cleaner should put out more power than the foot pumps in the piano can.
Take the bag out so we have good airflow.
I'd like to see how fast these motors can spin. Let's do a little demo.
Well, we'll see what happens. I'm thinking maybe one of these bearings will break and the motor will fail and stop. If you want to weigh in the discussion section below, please feel free. We're going to find out together. I'm going to try to get an RPM reading first, but I'm going to run this thing until either the motor gives up the ghost, the vacuum cleaner chokes to death, or I'm impaled by a hurtling crankshaft. This thing's filthy.
This is for science, I promise. We'll let this cook a little bit and go back to our bushings. The glue is now dry enough that I can trim the excess felt. I ended up replacing 10 bushings in total. With the crankshaft assembly complete, I can start working on the pneumatics. Since I sawed off the old boards with the table saw, I ended up making all new boards for the bellows, or pneumatics. The first gluing operation in reconstructing them is to replace the cloth hinges. While that dries, let's go check on our little science experiment. I'm joking. I've let it go for 30 minutes and it's still running. 650 RPM isn't bad, but I think we can get a little more out of it. For science. Let's try the dust collector. Fire in the hole.
Woo! I'm amazed. Now, I only ran it for about a minute because that dust collector really isn't meant to be reduced from a 4-inch hose down to this. But this thing held together. That's incredible. It has 12 pneumatics. That's way more moving parts than the Hadorf motor I'm restoring. Yes, I was secretly hoping it would explode. Oh, actually implode. But it didn't. It held up. You know, what I'm realizing is that I think in a way it's self-governing, because now that I actually give it some thought, there's only so much air that can flow through these ports at a given time. Huh. Cool.
Now, where was I? Oh yeah, glue and stuff. Okay, the hinges are dried. Now we can cover them in new pneumatic cloth. Well, the moment of truth is upon us. We'll see how I did at altering the span of these pneumatics. I hope those corner folds don't touch. Nice. I'll cover the other 4 that way and let them dry a little bit before I trim them.
Alright, I got all of Satan's phlegm off of the trunk. Cleaned up this side. This is the side our slide valves ride on. We want this to be as friction-free as possible, so I'll be treating it with some liquid graphite. Looks pretty good. Pneumatics. Alright, the pneumatics are done, so I glued them to them. The crankshaft with the new bushings is done. Let's screw it to it.
With it assembled, I can do the first test, and I've got to say, I got pretty lucky on this one. It ran pretty well right out of the gate. As a temporary visual aid, I put clear packing tape on the slide valves so I can better see their motion and set the timing. After covering the slide valves in bellows cloth, I'll do a final test for airtightness.
Yeah, that's a lot harder to turn. Ooh. Oh my gosh. Fire in the hole.
You might notice it does have a slight lurch or slight jolt in its RPMs, but I've adjusted it as best I can within the tolerance of the adjustable slide valves. If anyone's curious about the realistic RPM range of these motors, we can certainly come back to that once this is reinstalled in the piano with the rest of the system. The episode after this is going to be Next Level. Or rather, Next Level. See you there. I hope.